Sascha Pallenberg, welcome to the SISTRIX sofa here in Bonn.
Thank you.
Not too far away from your home city, right?
No, it's not. It's just like a 90 minutes train drive.
Thank you for coming. You're talking tonight at our digital marketing meetup.
Yeah,
and you've got a presentation, and I've had a brief look at it, and I want to just take 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe, just to talk about a few points.
Okay.
But I'm going to start by asking you to give me 30 seconds on Sascha. Where's he from? What does he do? What are you doing now?
Yeah, as you already mentioned, I'm originally from Dortmund. I left Germany in 2006, moved to the US for 3 years. Since February 2009, I live in Taipei, Taiwan. I wrote about technology for almost 20 years. And then I joined corporate communication at the Daimler AG for 4 years. First of all, as head of digital content, and then ended up as a head of digital transformation. And now I'm just doing some communication for Aware, which is a sustainability platform, a startup, while I'm also writing a weekly newsletter, and I'm producing a weekly German podcast about technology, mobility, sustainability, and web culture.
You've been producing for well over 20 years, right?
Yes, I do.
Digitally, for well over 20 years. Have you written 2 books?
I don't think so.
I ask you that because I asked Bard this morning to give me a brief summary of, and this is a great stepping off point into the chat, because Bard tells me you wrote 2 books, and I quote here, including The Future of Work and Digital Transformation in the Automotive Industry. Where did they come from?
It's quite interesting. I did a bunch of speeches on the future of work. Did a long interview together with Microsoft about 10 years ago about the future of work. And of course, my job was about the digital transformation of the automotive industry. I wrote a bunch of chapters for books, but I never ever wrote a book. I wrote like roughly 10,000 articles in my life. Right. So yes, it's complete. It's utter bullshit. But it sounds good.
It does.
I love it.
This is
it's not that wrong.
This is this believable BS, right?
Yeah.
It's coming out of, and it's only because I know you personally. I know what you've done the last 20 years. That I read that and I thought, hey, I don't know. This is wrong. So it's only because I'm an expert on you that I was able to fact check that. Is this something we can deal with in the future? Can we get rid of this? Can we improve it? Can we make it 99.999% accurate?
The fundamental technology of a transformer or of a large language model is just based on calculating the possibility of the relevancy of the next word that it just made up. And therefore, it's just creating this amount of bullshitting. I'm not sure if we can ever get rid of this in a large language model. I don't know. So it's just a matter of what we're going to add to it, to the context, like sources and all of this. And a couple of tools that you can find online are already doing this. But a transformer itself isn't just capable of fact-checking. It's capable of inhaling an immense amount of content and trying to figure out what is most likely to follow, or what word and what context is most likely to follow. It still can't understand it.
Yeah, we can't clean it, can we? The ball is already rolling. Going back to clean up what's already happened with the GPT models and Bard is impossible.
I think so. I mean, just like what happened in less than 12 months when it comes to text generation. It's even worse when it comes to image generation. I'm going to show a couple of examples tonight for this. Just to give you an idea, if you look at the amount of pictures and images that were created in 150 years of photography, in just 16, 18 months, more AI-generated images were uploaded to the internet than over 150 years of photography. And of course, and this is getting fed back into the system, that is creating new biases. And it's kind of hard to, just to actually even fact check it.
Yeah. It happens across all media as well. I watched a great interview with ABBA's Bjorn what is his surname? I'm forgetting his surname. He's talking about the music industry and how AI will generate 10 times the amount of music in the next year than has been generated in the last 50 years.
And you'll even be able to create remixes that are just so interesting. So I have a bunch of Frank Sinatra AI songs who is going to do cover versions of the Pixies, right? And he was already dead when the Pixies arrived on scene. And it sounds perfect. The image also probably created by a musician in general, because he knows about the arrangement, he knows about Frank Sinatra style and how he would sing something like "Where's My Mind" from the Pixies, this iconic song. It is amazing. It still gives us many opportunities, right? And I love it. Yeah. And from a technological perspective, it's absolutely mind-blowing and fascinating. Yes.
This content, and let's come back to sustainability a little bit. Generating the content requires a lot of energy. Storing the content requires a huge amount of energy. And retrieval of that content through any sort of search engine, be it Google, be it GPT, be it TikTok, requires massive amounts of energy. Have you given any thought to the sort of sustainability aspect of storing and retrieving all this information?
The huge advantage of the digital world is you can monitor all of this and you can report it. This is something that we can't do in the analog world. This is more about guessing, right? You know, at how many methane a cow would just put out, right, during a lifetime. In the digital world, we just need to put a smart meter at the other end of the power outlet, and we know exactly what this is going to produce. Yes, of course, these massive AI farms that NVIDIA is generating, which is like creating the craziest monopoly that we've ever seen in the last 40 years, draws so much energy. We're talking about, even though these are this high efficient silicon that they're using, but the GPUs and combined in these huge server farms are creating giga and gigawatt hours of energy consumption around the globe. And it's going to be a problem. The question is where we're going to get this energy from. And due to the fact, once again, we can measure it, we can monitor and report it, and we also know how to create energy from sustainable sources. So if these data centers, if these server farms are running on sustainable energy, I think that's not a problem at all.
Really? Yeah. Okay. But you think, what about that sustainable energy that needs to go to other places?
Totally agree with you. That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if you're in a commercial world and people are making money out of this, they're not going to stop it.
No.
Based on any sort of energy usage, be it black energy or green energy. Only governments could stop them. But I don't see them governments catching up. And we can talk a little bit about things like, Bard not being available in Google search in the EU, Threads not being available in the EU, but everywhere else it's a free for all, especially in the US where energy costs are lower.
And you won't be able to control it in a country like China or India, right? And all of a sudden we're talking about 40% of the global citizens, right? And governments that are ruling them. So, the Pandora is out of the box. We won't get it back in there again. And but we need limits, we need laws, we need regulators to step up. The European Union's been pretty much on the forefront with the European AI Act. I just hope that this is getting implemented as soon as possible. I'm a little bit worried about a bunch of politicians, also here in Germany, they're trying to convince you we don't need any limits, right? We need to have our industry just go for the next big thing. We need to create growth out of this. It's basically because they're politicians, they're not expert in the field of AI. Yeah. I'm not an expert in the field of AI, right? But I'm just dealing with, since ELIZA, which was a pre-large language model from the mid-60s from Joseph Weizenbaum from the MIT, that already gave you a glimpse of an idea of what we have right now. So analyzing data, try to build up context, make it sound human. What I saw in the last 18 months was mind-blowing, and it's fascinating, but it's also super scary. I've never ever seen anything like it. I'm going to talk a lot about this tonight, and what kind of impact it's going to have on the web, especially what kind of impact AI-generated content will have on this whole system, this ecosystem of creating new data based on data that just got fed into the system, and all of a sudden we're going completely 360. And maybe if this is getting published, that I wrote a bunch of books, right, and it's getting fed back into the system, it's the manifestation of bullshit, right? And maybe we are at the edge where we're just gonna move into this world where this bullshit transforms into truth. And that's kind of scary.
Could do. Let's take a little sideways step now. Let's say you're a content creator and you want to differentiate yourself from the potential BS that's coming out of AI, the average stuff that's coming out of BI. How do you do it? Is it important now for you to be creating a persona, having a persona, developing that, your personal brand, that sort of stuff? Can we talk about that a bit? I mean, you've been pretty good at that the last 20 years. Sascha Pallenberg is well known. We know when you create content. You sit in front of a camera and you talk to someone on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
How are companies gonna attack this?
I mean, I think I put it onto my LinkedIn profile saying I'm the Time Magazine Person of the year 2006. Because it's true. I was on the cover of a Time magazine. Just basically, it's just basically saying you, right? And these guys are just were kind of celebrating the creator community at that time, and they were just one of the first ones, let's say, from the big media outlets to get it. What kind of impact it's going to have on our on media in general. Throughout the last 3 or 4 years, you saw so much bullshitting going on with personal branding agencies and whatnot. And I'm not sure what kind of personal branding this is. It has a lot to do with these guys being in front of a camera, looking good and trying to sell you something. I never started my career of content creation by the dream, or with the dream in mind of becoming a personal brand. For me, it was about the content and the passion for technology, right? It was always content first. Yes, obviously I had a specific style of how I contributed towards this media industry and how my rhetorics were. And that obviously created somewhat of a brand. But I never ever started it with this in mind. But I truly believe that if people see you as someone that is approachable, as someone they can interact with, as someone that is maybe even sometimes a little bit edgy and they don't agree with, but on the other hand gets them into a different position to have a different perspective on some topics, this creates this so-called, I mean, I can't even hear that anymore, authenticity. And I think this works, and it's gonna be a short time frame, in my opinion, where you can still take advantage of it, because in 2 years from now, an AI will probably also be able to create this.
That's interesting. I mean, I do believe that now is the time that if you're even half an expert, you should really be building your presence and using that, exploiting that. Because maybe, as you say, in 2 years' time, something else that's automated will take that over for you.
Imagine, like, in 2 years from now, someone is creating a customized large language model about the architecture of tiny houses. And it's going to combine it with an AI-generated persona or avatar. And it's just basically hitting the output button, and it's creating tons and tons of hours of video content of this avatar talking about the amazing impact that tiny houses will have on our society. We're all going to become so sustainable, and it's a good-looking person. It's just like, and it also got maybe fed by, kind of reminds me of this 80s John Hughes movie, Weird Science. when they created this Kelly Lee Brooks, right? They put anything into the computer that they liked, right? How this avatar should look.
Shields.
Yeah, no, Kelly Lee Brooks.
Oh, Kelly Lee Brooks. Okay, Brooks.
And so we're getting there. This is possible. We can fed customized large language models with all these ideas and with all these inputs and turn them into a supreme expert in this field. And now you're just going to add the avatar and pictures to
That's
it.
cool. That's cool on some platforms, but an LLM won't be able to, an AI model won't be able to sit here.
Exactly. They will never be able to go on a conference, right?
They will never be able to go on a conference and do this and drink water and make mistakes like I just did.
Yeah.
Which makes you human. Sorry, that should have been human. That's my Ipswich. That's my Suffolk coming out there. 23 years in Germany. You still can't take the boy out of me. All right, listen. Another thing you wrote about, just briefly to me, is your homepage, is your oyster, which I think is a very, very important tool. Let's give it 1 minute on your homepage is your oyster. What do you mean by that?
Algorithm change. And each and every platform, like whatever you use on Meta, whatever you use in a Microsoft or in a Google environment, is creating a kind of Stockholm syndrome effect on whatever you're doing. You are the hostage here. Your content is the hostage. And if they're going to change the algorithm, right, whether you're going to join this adventure or you just going to quit. But with your homepage, you are in charge, right? This should always be your home base, and this is not algorithm-driven. Of course, as soon as you're starting to share it on social media or into the Google index or into the Bing index or whatnot, this is where AI or an algorithm has an impact on this. But before that, you are the AI, you are the algorithm, you're going to take care of it. This is where it all starts.
Yeah, that's a great place to end this interview, Sasha. Thank you so much. Where can people find you online?
Well, you can basically bump into me on each and every platform. I just deactivated my Twitter account yesterday. Yeah, this morning, after 15 years, it was just so over. I just can't deal with this platform anymore. I'm still on LinkedIn, I'm on Mastodon, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Threads, I'm on Instagram, and I'm also on my homepage, metacheles.de.
Brilliant. Okay, metacheles.de. We'll put that in the notes underneath. Thanks again, Sascha.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Take care.